We'll start the April 11th Finance Committee meeting. We'll start with the invocation and pledge. Mr. Cagnolati.
Let's bow our heads in prayer. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, we thank you for getting us safely here to meet and discuss the financial issues of Ascension Parish. We ask that you guide us in making the decisions in the best interest of all. Please take care of those who couldn't be with us tonight, especially those who are ill or have illness in their family. Bless us and guide us in all that we do, and may your Holy Spirit be with us at all times, for we place our lives in your hands, always and forever. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to have to jump around a little bit. As you can see, we do not have a quorum yet. Michael Mason should be here in 10 or 15 minutes, so we're going to do a couple items out of order tonight. Public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on any item should fill out a green or a red card and hand it to Ashley, please. We're going to start off with item 5GG, which is the legislative update with Louisiana Lobbying Solutions. And this is, we're starting with this one. It's not a vote, it is just a discussion. It's informative, so. Guys, welcome.
Hello, Councilman, Council members. Danny Ford with Louisiana Lobbying Solutions.
Todd Romell with Louisiana Lobbying Solutions.
We represent you guys at the legislature. As you know, we are in session right now. We do a weekly update that you should have in front of you that goes through the bills we've been tracking on behalf of the parish. Most of them are dealing with capital outlay proposals or issues from the state that are going to affect taxation, how you collect, how you audit, and a few others that are on the local side. If you go through this, every week when we send the update, we normally send to John and Patrick. If they send it to you guys, you can click on those links. It'll show you where the bill is on the process on the state site. You're able to pull up any amendments or anything. And we did put our cards out. So if y'all ever have a question about an individual piece of legislation that's affecting the parish or the state or even some of the finance stuff, please don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call us. The other piece that you have in front of you is basically all of our clients that we're tracking on capital outlay. There are some adjustments. HB2 was heard in committee today. There were several amendments that pulled about $80 million out of Priority 1 funding back into Priority 5. The bill has several more stops. It's got to go to the Appropriations Committee and then the floor. After the time, I'm guessing, of the time frame, we'll probably move it out of the House within the next 3 weeks. After then, we'll have revenue estimating has met for the state, and there'll probably be a lot of adjustments on that bill with cash priorities with state surplus and things that can be funded. We didn't have a lot of direct applications, but as they've made some changes to the water sector bill today, changing some of the parameters of how that was supposed to work. When we got the money from the feds, we really didn't put a mechanism in place. We were kind of glued to the Fed rules, which prevented a lot of water systems and drainage projects that were already in the works from not qualifying because of how they were already started. So the legislature made some changes on that. It seems to be that bill went through committee with no problem today. I think everybody has agreed we're not going to see anything changing on it unless it's a technical amendment. So we'll start tracking any projects that are going to be applied from now in the future with water sector programs or gumbo grants as well. Most of the funding that you guys have right now is in the DOTD budget, which you can see is coming through. We're actually having a meeting with the speaker tomorrow about some of the projects on 3127 and some other applications that were made through facility plannings that did not get into the legislation. So we'll be meeting with the speaker on that tomorrow to see if we can't, as this goes forward, to get that put in. And as I said, this is every time you're dealing with this, it is a work in progress through all stages of the legislative process, especially depending on what the money it looks like. We've had a couple of meetings so far with you guys for the governor and with LED about doing some work with exploring a TID or a TIF on the 3127 side. in a couple of those projects, and we've met with DOTD extensively on making sure that what is in this for you guys on their side stays in at the current funding amounts, if not a little bit of an increase with some possibly surplus dollars in cash that come in. That's really an overview of where we are. Happy to answer any questions on Ty and I's behalf, or if we can answer anything. And as I said, our cards are on there. That's both of our cells on those cards. Don't ever hesitate to pick up the phone if you have a specific question about anything on there or need anything with any of the departments that we work with. So happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Anybody have any questions? All right, guys. Well,
Thank y'all.
appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I have to back up. I skipped roll call, which is obviously important tonight. So absent tonight is Coach, Thomas, Dempsey Lambert, Corey, Ms. Terry, and Chase. And again, we will proceed with some other items when Michael gets here. Another bit of housekeeping, we're going to remove items EE and N from the agenda. On item EE, it's an extension of the fuel contract. I'm going to ask Councilman Cagnolati to add that to the council agenda for next Thursday. So we will discuss that then and vote on that then. Let's see, I covered GG. So we can actually do the contract report, which is FF, 5FF. If anybody had any questions about that, that's provided in your packet beforehand. No questions about that?
And Mr. Chairman, I will say that starting next month, you're going to see a little bit more detailed reporting.
Okay.
We've had Randy Mullis, who is now working with us in finance, helping with our contracts, to help us build a better report, looking into the future of what's coming up. Not just what's coming up, but also what's the status. Is it something that's on the agenda? Is it something that will be on the agenda moving forward? Is it something that we need to redo an RFP? Is it a change order? So he's going to be working with a lot of the different departments so that you won't just see, like you have in the past, what contracts are, but you'll see what is coming up in case there's something you have questions about before we get to that point. So you'll see that starting next month. We're really close. We want to make sure we get those comments right so that when you see them, you know exactly what's happening, 2 months out, maybe even 3 months out if we can get ahead with those contracts.
Okay. Councilman Lawler.
Because we need to eat up time, I'll speak slowly. I want to thank, no, seriously, but we do need to eat up time until Michael gets here. I can't do anything. I called Patrick because they had a contract for integrated human capital solutions for HR, and I was curious about what it was, and actually it was pretty cool. They're going to help us write a lot of the manual, the HR manual. Is that correct? Yeah.
That is correct. Lucy has done a great job of trying to get a handle on all the policies and what needs to be done. But being just one person, she's got a lot of ideas, and she needed a little bit of help. So we were able to find this professional who can help us write these policies and get us ahead of the game. So instead of these things taking months and months going into the future, with Lucy trying to do all of them and working on the weekends and at night like she's been doing, we keep fussing and telling her, why don't we find somebody else to help you so you're not putting in so much time. And I think this is really going to help with things like our evaluation policies, awards and recognition policies, things like that moving forward that'll help the parish.
Plus, it's fantastic because this is one of those things that's it's a one-time cost is to write these policies. We're not going to be doing this constantly. So, it's money well spent. It's not a repeating cost, hopefully, through the years. We may have to update it every, 5-10 years or whatever it is. But this will be money well spent. And just so the public knows, it's $49,000, but we're going to be billed, and it's not going to exceed that. It may be much less than that.
Correct.
So, y'all doing a good job there.
Thank you,
Come on,
sir.
people, some more questions. Michael, where you at?
He just parked, so we're getting close. Does anybody have any other questions about contracts? Yeah, I'd like to echo that. We appreciate Patrick and his department. They've done a good job figuring out how we can stop getting last-minute requests for contracts and keep better track about what's coming up for renewal, what needs to be RFQ'd, RFP'd, so that we're not coming up against deadlines and having to rush through these things, so.
And I think this new process is working well because what you see now when it comes to finance is you see the department's information, you see finance's review from a financial perspective and from a contract perspective. Also, you get legal's review. So I think we're hitting it from all the sides that need to be hit for kind of a one-stop shop. So when you see these, you can be assured that all of us have looked at it from every angle. So when it goes on that consent agenda, hopefully we're speeding up the council meeting because everything's already been reviewed from all sides. Nothing has to be pulled off of the agenda in case there's a problem, and it'll just make things go much, much faster when we get to council.
Okay, a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
I'll burn your house down here.
All right. Okay, so let the record reflect that we now have a quorum. Councilman Mason has arrived, so I do have to back up to item 3. So we do have an item. I'm going to ask Joey Turo to come up for a minute just to give us a little explanation. So this is something that came up kind of last minute, but it's an approval of a change order for a Move Ascension project, and it's due to some utility conflicts. So just to let everybody know, we will have to have a unanimous vote to add this to the agenda tonight, but I was going to let Joey speak just a little bit on what this one is.
I needed to add contract time to this contract in order to be able to pay the contractor. If we run out of time, I will not be able to pay the contractor because time will have run out. So this ensures that I can pay him.
I have a motion and a second. Any objections? All right, so that is unanimous. That'll be item 5JJ on this agenda. Thank you, Joey. All right, with that being said, we can jump into it. Item 5A, approval of a cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Parish government and Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office for the remodeling of the structure at 1200 St. Patrick Street, Donaldsonville, for the Early Childhood Development Center. Mr. Diaz?
Yeah, so real quick, this is not the Early Childhood Center per se. This is an additional building that we've joined a joint partnership with the library board. It's going to be a tutoring center. We're going to pay for the remodeling in conjunction with the Sheriff's Department and also Leadership Ascension, and the Ascension Parish Library has agreed to facilitate it and hire the tutors every day from 3 to 9 at night, and then most of the days in the summer. So this is an addition to the Early Childhood Center, but it's on the same campus.
Second.
I got a motion by Councilman Robert, second by Councilman Cagnolotti. Any objections? That moves to the council for approval. Item 5B, approval of amendment number 6, All South Consulting Engineers for the extension of the contract term for an additional year through May 11th, 2023. Rachel?
This is just a renewal for the OEP All South contract. All South helps us with all the paperwork, the processes, and anything that we need for the FEMA reimbursement side.
All right, I got a motion by Councilman Robert, second by Councilman Cagnolotti. Any questions? Any objections? All right, that moves to the full council for approval.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Item 5C, approval of amendment to the agreement with Tyler Technologies for additional Executime training for an additional $10,220. Brandon O'Day.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah, so we don't necessarily know that we're going to need this additional training time, but we are fixing to get back into the Executime implementation. And we don't want to run up to the end of the implementation and run out of training. So we're just kind of trying to get ahead of the horse here a little bit.
Second.
I got a motion by Councilman Cagnolotti, a second by Councilman Mason. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that moves to the full council for approval. Thank you. Item 5E, approval of contract for medical services between the parish and Ty Gotro for medical needs of inmates at the Ascension Parish Jail. Total amount of contract will be $56,700. I did.
Oh.
I'm sorry. All right, we have to wait. Christie, I'm sorry. 5D, approval of intergovernmental agreement with the town of Sorrento to allow the parish to enforce on behalf of the town the Louisiana State Uniform Code, including issuance of all permits and the performance of all inspections required. All these licensing fees shall be made payable to and belong to the parish.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Councilman Lawler, second by Councilman Mason. Whoops. Any objections? Any questions? Hearing none. Let's move to the full council for approval. Item 5E, I've read already, so I'm going to let Christy tell us about it.
Good evening. This is a renewal with a contract for the nurse practitioner to see the inmates at the jail for medical services.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none. Let's move to the full council for approval.
Thank you.
Item 5F, approval of amendment number 1 to the Cooperative Endeavor Agreement with Capital Area Human Services District for additional funds in the amount of $5,108.73 to cover one half of the utility costs for January and February 2022.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Turner, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any questions? Oh, go ahead.
I know it's kind of strange that we're doing it for 2 months. Do we do this like can we do it for an entire year?
I don't know. Oh, we do have somebody here.
I mean, I know the summer months more expensive. We could avoid those, but I mean,
I'm sorry, what was the question?
why is it only 2 months?
I'm assuming, is that the length of the contract?
Yeah, the contract was started in March.
Oh, okay.
So we're just
So
finishing
it's
out
just
the
an
year for it.
additional amount to cover those 2 months?
I got you.
Uh-huh.
That makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions? Any objections? I already have a motion and a second. Hearing none. That moves to the full council. Thank you for approval. 5G, approval of amendment number 2, Central Fence and Gates LLC for additional days for substantial completion from 90 to 150 days for the soccer field fence replacement at Lamar Dixon Expo Center.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilman Robert. Any questions?
Just add days.
Yeah, it's just to add time. Yeah. Supply chain.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
The motion moves to the full council for approval. 5H, RFQ results and authority to enter into contract with the only responsive proposal received by Roberto Macedo and Associates for administrative consultant services for the funds received through the Department of Housing and Urban Development Program for Section 8 housing. Hello.
Yeah, we got only one responsive bidder for the Section 8 program, and we are here to get approval to enter into agreement with Roberto Macedo and Associate, and to give Parish President Clint Quintmore to sign and execute all documents pertaining to that contract.
Motion by Councilman Robert, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any questions? Any objections? Oh, all right. Michael Mason.
So what are we going to be doing with this Section 8 funding? Like, what was our plan for it?
Mr. Roberto is right here to answer the question. He has been administering that program for the parish since 1980.
Yeah, just curious about it. I mean, I'm excited about it. I'm just curious.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Roberto Macedo. I'm an administrative consultant, and most of you were not here when I started administering the Section 8 program for the parish, and that was back in 1980. So I've been performing this service for you for 42 years, and every year I thank you for your vote of confidence. Basically, the Section 8 program is a federal program that provides rental assistance to families that have to meet a certain income, low and very low income. Currently, Ascension Parish, and that would be for the unincorporated areas, can assist 100 families. That's the number of vouchers that we can issue to parish residents. The city of Donaldsonville has its own program, Section 8 program. So altogether, I think they add up about 200 families that we can assist. For your general information, currently, we are assisting for the first quarter of 2022. We're assisting an average of about 94 families. And we issue half payments to the landlords on behalf of the family, and that averages about $60,000 a month. The program is completely subsidized by the federal government, including any administrative fees that are paid to my company. They're all built into the system. As far as the funds, we're spending 100% of the monies that HUD sends us, which is pretty good. And we have the utilization between 95 to 96%.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That's what
Thank
I
you.
wanted.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
We have a motion and a second, correct? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any objections? Hearing none, that moves to the full council for approval. 5I, request for approval to submit an application for the 2021-2022 Local Government Assistance Program and for the 2021-2022 Community Water Enrichment Fund.
Yeah, we come in, it's a program that we do yearly, and we are coming in for this year, 2021-2022, to ask for approval to submit an application and to give Parish President Clintmore the authority to sign and execute all documents pertaining to the application, or Mr. Patrick Goldsmith, CFO, for financial documents.
Motion by Councilman Robert, second by Councilman Mason. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that moves to the full council. Thank you. 5J, approval of change order number 8, Shaw Construction Services for the Ascension Parish Sewer Program improvements to add 67 additional days due to soil condition around wet well number 2 and the river level being above 11 feet, causing work stoppage on Brown Street sewer main and services.
Good evening.
Motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilman Robert. Any questions? Any objections? Passes to the full council for approval. 5K, approval of amendment number 2, Evans Graves Engineers, Inc., Parish Sewer Improvements Engineering Services for the extension of the contract term through August 31st, 2022. Mr. Dawson.
So this is the same engineering company that oversees the project that Carl just brought up, which is the Shaw project, CDBG sewer project, and Darrell. And this is the technical aspect of it, Evans Graves. And this is, we're asking that this be extended to August 31st, 2022. It will expire this month if it's not extended.
Motion by Councilman Robert, second by Councilman Mason. I do have a question from Councilman Cagnolati.
Bill, is this just an extension of time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No money increases.
All right. Councilman Turner?
And they have assured that's going to be done prior to then?
Yes. So we extended the contract with Shaw, and that's 2 months ahead of this. This just gives Graves enough time after the contract's ended to reconcile everything.
And this will be the last extension?
It'll be the last one I bring to you.
All right. Any objections? Hearing none, that passes to the full council for
Thank you.
approval. Thank you, Bill. Item 5L, approval of ordinance to amend the Ascension Consolidated Utilities District Number 1 and Parish Utilities of Ascension Water Company Rules and Regulations, Section 4, Billing Fees and Payments. Item 3, fees to adjust and revise the fee schedule. Mr. Dawson, or did you need to comment on that one? Don't leave yet. Get those steps in.
I thought it was one and done. I forgot about the fees, but this is what the utility committee had approved. What was that, 2 weeks ago now? And, you know, it's really, we separated the fees. This was a part of the procedure, policy and procedure manual. Separated those out, sent those to finance, and this is the final step before we go to committee for the full council. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Questions?
Any questions? I would entertain a motion.
By the way, there are no increases in there. There's just one decrease in the commercial rate. And it also, what it does is it makes these rates the same across PUA and ACUD 1.
Motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none. That passes to the full council for approval. Item 5M. Oh, that's the one that's, oh, do I have to wait? All right. That sounds like a great idea, Mr. Goldsmith. Yep, so we'll go to item 6A, financial update by Patrick Goldsmith.
I just want to remind everybody that we're using Open Finance now. Since it's an ongoing tool, you can look at the finances at any given time. We're about a quarter of the way through the year, so if you look at the different charts and graphs that they have on there and the information, as long as we're within that 25%, you know we're doing fairly well. And just remind you, there's a few things you can actually drill down. So if you look at the jail, you'll wonder why they're at 40%, but that's because we transfer some money at the beginning of the year. And you can see that as you actually drill down. So number one, I just wanted to remind everybody that that's out there. Number two, wanted to give a quick update that we are working with a new software package called from ClearGov that is going to help us in the budget process. Poor Dawn, every year, has to create everything by hand, put PDFs together. It takes a ridiculous amount of time. This is a piece of software that will integrate with Munis, which we use to enter a lot of the budget information. And not only will it create our budget book with the press of a button, at least that's the promise, it's also going to create a website that'll kind of enhance what Open Finance has. So between the two of them, you'll get a really good picture and be able to drill down. Hopefully maybe one day we can get it all on one system, but this is really a budgeting tool, and it's also a capital planning tool that'll help us plan out in the future, and it even builds a website for that as well. So we're looking to really enhance our transparency and hopefully giving the council members a lot more information to be able to drill down in just different ways.
Okay. Councilman Cagnolati?
Yeah, Patrick, thank you. This will also help us do long-term budgeting.
Absolutely. That's part of the package. Is it helps you develop those. In fact, it's set up to meet the criteria for the GFOA award, which, the GFOA award is pushing us towards the multi-year budgeting. So this package is set to actually, you tick off when you've met those criteria. So when you submit for the GFOA award, you submit it through this software, it puts the PDF together, and it sends it off. And it lets you know when you've achieved those things. So multi-year budgeting, operational and capital is a huge part of this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Councilman Robert.
You mentioned that we get a website, or explain a little bit to that.
So when you create this budget book, it actually builds a website for the budget information. So instead, we'll still print books, but you can actually look at a website and see all the information that you normally would have in that thick book that we give out, but it'll be in a more condensed website that you can go through a little easier. And so what the site does is says, this is your actual budget.
So we're just putting the IP address on our budget?
Yes.
Okay.
And making it a little bit easier to navigate.
Gotcha, thank you.
And save paper, yes.
Yeah, so one other comment I'd like to make is Patrick and I have been talking about some department budget reviews. As we move into the budgeting process, it kind of gets shoved on us at the end of the year. So we're trying to figure out maybe a couple small departments to do. I think maybe next month we might do one.
We're going to try, yes, sir. We'll
try
try to
one.
put that together, have a presentation that we could walk you through one of the budgets, have the department here to answer questions, and kind of start that process to be kind of a template for how we could move forward.
Right, and then the hope would be to move on, hopefully do a couple of the smaller departments, and then hopefully do transportation. Morning, Joey, and drainage as as those are two of the biggest budgets we handle, so to move into that later.
It looks like Michael King's volunteering to go first. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we did talk about recreation, didn't we?
That'll be a quick one.
Yeah. All right. I don't have any other questions. That concludes item 6A. And we will go back to item 5M. Approval of renewal of the joint intergovernmental agreement and cooperative endeavor with the district attorney for the adult drug intervention program for 2022. Total amount of the agreement is $89,900.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Robert, a second by Councilman Mason. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that moves to the full council for approval. We remove item 5N, so we're going to move to item 5O. Approval of amendment number 1 to professional services contract for grounds maintenance services with Royal Estates Lawn and Landscaping to include the Health Unit West for an additional amount of $2,520 for a total contract amount of $167,431.89. Motion by Councilman Cagnolati, second by Councilman Mason. Yeah, give us a little update, Mike, real quick.
That's just correcting a clerical error that with that one. So that's all it is. It was adding in the health unit to the billing.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that moves to the full council for approval. Item 5P, RFP results and authority to enter into contract for parish HVAC maintenance with the two highest ranked responsive proposals from Corporate Mechanical Contractors with a score of 471 and Gallo Mechanical Services LLC with a score of 436. Dean.
Yeah, basically, we did the RFP. We had 4 respondents. After we had a selection committee and we discussed it, based on our weekends and availability during holidays, we felt it'd be more prominent to have a backup company in case you call one and they're not available. So we're asking to set the 2 of them up under one contract, be task order driven.
Okay. Motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any questions? Councilman Robert.
So we're keeping the original mechanical contractor and we're adding one for like a substitute, correct?
Well, we're going to build one contract. These 2 companies will be under that contract under a task order. So whoever the
so it's
task
going
order.
going by the same rate structure.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So it just, whichever one's available, they'll get that task order. It'd be like CMC task order 01.
And will one have precedent over the other?
Not necessarily. I mean, obviously with the score, we'd like to go with the higher score one, but it's basically, who's available the quickest, who can respond.
Thank you.
All right. I don't see any other questions. Any objections? Hearing none, that passes to the full council for approval. 5Q, approval of change order number 1, Getro General Contractors for the Lamar Dixon trademark roof insulation replacement, increase in insulation material that occurred from bid time and addition of 107 days for hurricane delay, events delay and material delivery delay. Increase amount $13,633 for the total contract amount of $189,633. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Turner, second by Councilman Cagnolotti. Any objections? Hearing none, that motion carries to the full council for approval. Approval of certificate of substantial completion, Getro General Contractors for the Lamar Dixon trademark roof insulation replacement. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilman Cagnolotti. Any objections? Hearing none, that passes to the full council for approval. 5S, approval of certificate of substantial completion, ASA contracting for OEP department relocation and renovations. Motion by Councilman Turner, second by Councilman Mason. Any objections? Hearing none, that motion carries to the full council for approval.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Item 5T, approval of change order number 3, Richard Price Contracting Company LLC for the Roddy Road intersection improvements at Merritt Evans, Duval Road, and Norwood Road project to provide final quantities needed for the project. Deduction of $56,812.50.
Deductions all day.
Motion by Councilman Robert, second by Councilman Cagnolotti. I have a question from Councilman Lawler.
No, not really a question. I do this every time because we always hear a lot about how much money the parish has and all this stuff, and transportation simply, and I go on this statement again, transportation doesn't have money. But what we have been doing is we've been keeping a very good eye on the money. Joey has been keeping a very good eye on the money, and you'll see over the next few, and I'll talk on each one of them a little bit, on the next few items, we're having deductions. This is an 18.6% deduction, saving money. That's $56,000 that we can use for other projects. So good job, Joey. This is to let the public know that we don't have lots of money in transportation. We have very little, but we are keeping a very tight eye on it so that it doesn't just go into the ether. So keep it up. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion carries to the full council for approval. 5U, approval of substantial completion, Richard Price Contracting for Roddy Road intersection improvements, Merritt Evans Road, Duval Road, and Norwood Road project.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Lawler, second by Councilman Mason. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion carries. 5V, approval of amendment number 3, Gresham Smith and Partners to include additional alternative modifications to the current study required by DOTD that the mitigation of the realignment of LA 621 will cause no adverse effects to the study area. Specifically, the Hollows of Dutchtown subdivision for an additional amount of $60,000 with a total not to exceed contract of $121,219.60.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Councilman Lawler, second by Councilman Turner. I have a question by Councilman Lawler.
No, just this is an increase, but this is a little different situation here. This is where we're looking to take the intersection of Highway 61 and 73 and move it further from the interstate, which will help traffic flow. But this increase is, we have a neighborhood right there. And simply put, we're trying to make sure that this isn't going to cause harm to that neighborhood. And it's not the construction contract whatsoever. But that was in this material. It is in the state round of, it's a priority one for funding right now. So it's a big deal, which could really help that area, that whole 73, 621 interstate area. Yeah.
All right, any other questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion carries to the full council for approval. 5W, approval of change order number 1, River Road Construction, Inc. for the Manchac Acres at Muddy Creek Bridge Replacement Project for a utility relocation and an additional 3 calendar working days. Additional amount of $792.50.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Councilman Lawler, second by Councilman Cagnolotti. And a question or a comment by Councilman Lawler.
Yeah, we did go over on this one it's about 0.02% of the total budget. So we were doggone close there. But our goal is always to stay within 5% of change orders going above. If we can stay within that, which is very good on any construction project to stay within 5%. Joey's done that on this one. We're in 0.02%, so keep kicking
Well,
budget.
this one's in the early stages, so
Yeah.
we hope we have that same goal for sure, but this is very early in this project.
Okay.
Piece by piece, got to do it.
Any additional questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion carries to the full council for approval. Was that X or W?
Those W's.
Thank you, thank you. 5X, approval of change order number 2, River Road Construction, Inc. for the Manchac Acres at Muddy Creek Bridge replacement.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Lawler, second by Councilman Mason. Any questions? Councilman Robert.
Who's our supplier for culverts?
Culverts is Capital Concrete here in Prairieville,
So why are we adding 40 days to get culverts? What's going on?
because they couldn't get the steel timely in order to build the boxes.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion carries to the full council for approval. 5Y, approval of balancing change order number 1, decreasing the Move Ascension Project Road, Roddy Road, clearing and grubbing, US 61 to LA 935.
Motion to approve, and I'll say that this is an 8% decrease.
Motion by Councilman Lawler, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any other questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion carries to the full council for approval. 5Z, approval of certificate of substantial completion of the Move Ascension Project Road 170017, Roddy Road clearing and grubbing, US 61 to LA 935. Any questions? Is that Mason? All right, motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any objections? Hearing none, that motion carries. 5AA, approval of certificate of substantial completion of asphaltic concrete reconstruction and overlay improvements 2020, task order 01. Joey?
Motion.
Oh. Motion by Councilman Lawler, second by Councilman Mason. Any questions? Any objections?
Just wanted to add that this is an old one that should have been done a while back. It was something, that was actually finished in 2021 that it just slipped through the cracks. So just finally getting it done.
Well, good job. Any objections? Hearing none, that motion carries. 5BB, approval of balancing change order number 6, decreasing the amount by $54,306.54 for the Move Ascension Project Road.
Motion to approve that decrease of $54,000, so the 4%.
Motion by Councilman Lawler, second by Councilman Robert. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that passes to the council for approval. CC, approval of certificate of substantial completion for the Move Ascension Project Road 180016, Henry Road at AP 930 roundabout.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilman Lawler. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion carries to the full council for approval. Item 5DD, approval of amendment to participation agreement with St. Bernard Parish Sheriff for housing of juveniles to change the price from $200 per bed to $250 per bed, effective January 1st, 2022. Mr. Goldsmith.
So this is an agreement that we actually passed a little earlier this year for $200 a bed. And then we got notified by St. Bernard that said from 2018 forward, we've been paying $200 per bed, but in 2017 it was $250. Nobody is sure exactly how the agreement changed from 17 to 18, but the intent, at least from their side, was that it should have been $250. So I guess we've kind of gotten a discount for a few years. And they said as long as we can just do this going forward as of January, they would be fine with that. And this is the agreement we have where they house our juveniles. It's a really great facility. They do really rehabilitation. They do education. They do things that we can't do with a huge facility that we really would not want to be in the business of doing. So we will make sure we take care of this in the budget.
Motion by Councilman Cagnolati, second by Councilman Mason. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none. That motion carries to the full council for approval. We removed item 5EE. We have covered item 5FF. We have covered 5GG. Item 5HH, approval of cooperative endeavor agreement between the parish and the Juvenile capital of the world for a one-time payment of $20,000. Question, John Cagnolati.
I just want to explain, Juvenile Association, through a cooperative endeavor agreement, has provided services to the parish, and we help supplement the cost of the Juvenile Festival. They've done it for many years. I think the CEA was created in 2017, 2018, because we took them out of the contribution donation budget, put it into the Lamar-Dixon budget. Is that correct? And it just helps them do it. They do things for us all year long. They did 3 or 4 functions last year. Last year, we did not give them any money because they didn't have a festival. So while they came back and asked us if we would start that over again, and it's in the budget, I got that cleared. So I suggest I recommend that we approve this, and I make a motion to do so.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Cagnolati, second by Councilman Mason. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes to the full council for approval. 5II, approval of amendment number 2 to the cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Parish government and CARA'S for a one-time payment of $49,000 for additional staffing needed due to temporary housing at Lamar-Dixon Expo Center. Ms. Daniel?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilman Lawler, second by Councilman Robert. But if you want to say a couple words.
Thank y'all very much. We appreciate the support. We are
Okay.
back in our facility and things are going pretty smoothly. So hopefully we have no hurricanes this year and can stay right where we are.
Okay. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that passes
Thank
to the
y'all
full
very
council
much.
for approval. Item JJ, approval of change order number 4 for the Move Ascension Project Road 170024, Seabro Safety Widening, Bluff Road, LA 928 to LA 73 to add 25 calendar days due to utility conflicts. Mr.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilman Robert. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none. That passes to the full council for approval. I think that brings us to 6B, budget amendment number 3, approval to amend the 2022 budget. Ms. Dawn.
Good evening. This is budget amendment number 3, which reads as follows. An ordinance to amend the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2022 operating and capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension, adopted by the Ascension Parish Council on the 18th day of November 2021. Section 1. The Ascension Parish Council hereby ordains that the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2022 operating and capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension is hereby amended, approved, and appropriated as follows. Operating budget, Animal Services Fund, increase appropriation to CARA'S for additional payroll costs incurred while the animals were housed at Lamar-Dixon. Expenditures and other financing uses, appropriations, CARA'S $49,000. Juvenile Justice Program Fund, increase in the St. Bernard Sheriff's contract to $250 per bed per day, and also funding for the remodeling and construction of the tutoring center. Expenditures and other financing uses, probation and juvenile court expense, $97,500. Transfer out Juvenile Justice Construction Fund, $250,000. Parish Utilities of Ascension Fund for the 2020-2021 CWEF grant. Revenues and other financing sources, grants, $38,500. Expenditures and other financing uses, appropriations and grants, non-capital, $38,500. Capital budget, Juvenile Justice Construction Fund for the remodeling and construction of the tutoring center. Revenues and other financing sources, transfer in Juvenile Justice Program Fund, $250,000. Expenditures and other financing sources, contract payments, capital, $250,000. Hazard Mitigation Grant Fund, federal funding from FEMA for the May severe storms and flooding and for Hurricane Ida. revenues and other financing sources, grant FEMA hazard mitigation for the May storms, $338,500. Grant FEMA for the hazard mitigation for Hurricane Ida, $2,235,500. Expenditures and other financing uses, appropriations and grants capital, $2,574,000.
Motion by Councilman Robert, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes to the full council for approval. Motion to adjourn by Councilman Mason, second by Councilman Cagnolati.
Can we make Councilman Mason stay for an extra 30 minutes? Madam
Sure.
Clerk? Okay.
I'm all for it. Hey, thanks for all the hard work from the finance department, so.
I wouldn't have voted for that, Mike.